Imagine stepping out onto your deck, maybe coffee in hand, the sun's out, it feels great, right?
Yeah.
That perfect outdoor space.
Total comfort.
But then you feel it, just a little give underfoot maybe.
Yeah.
Or a railing that wobbles just slightly.
Yeah, that little uh-oh moment.
Exactly. And suddenly that comfort turns into a very real question.
Yeah.
How safe is this deck, actually?
It's such a critical question. And honestly, one we often push aside until those little signs pop up.
Right.
Which is why today we're doing a deep dive into something foundational, but yeah, often overlooked, deck safety standards.
Absolutely. And our mission here really is to pull out the core insights, the things that make sure your deck isn't just, pretty, but genuinely secure, compliant. We're digging into Rain City Deck's deck safety standards, your guide to a safer. We want to arm you, the listener, with the knowledge of what really makes a deck safe, especially if you're in a place with challenging weather, like, say, Vancouver.
Okay, so let's unpack that. When we talk about deck safety standards, these aren't just like random rules someone made up.
Right.
They're regulations, carefully designed based on engineering and past incidents to prevent failures, to ensure that structure lasts. Think of it like the safety blueprint for your outdoor space.
And these standards, they get pretty specific, don't they? It's not just a vague idea of safe.
Exactly. We're talking specific requirements. Things like how high the railings need to be, exactly how much weight or load the deck needs to support safely, and the durability of the materials themselves.
Okay, and here's where it gets really interesting, I think. Why does this all matter so much? It seems obvious, but maybe break it down.
Well, fundamentally, it's about preventing injuries, catastrophic collapses, people falling because of loose railings, terrible stuff.
Yeah.
But it's also about compliance with local building codes. Your property value is tied into it. Even your insurance eligibility can depend on it.
Wow. Okay, so it's not just about the immediate physical safety. It touches on finances, regulations.
It really does. It's this detail that seems small, but has potentially huge ripple effects.
So maybe give us some quick takeaways, like some core safety nuggets people should know.
Sure. So from the source material, key things are railings generally need to be at least 36 inches high. Your guardrails, they need to withstand typically around 200 pounds of pressure applied at the top.
Like someone leaning heavily, maybe.
Exactly. Or even a few people pushing against it. And crucially, how the deck attaches to the house, that ledger board we mentioned, bolted securely, that connection is vital. It carries a lot of weight.
And cutting corners here, that's not just risky. It can actually cost you, right? Fines, safety problems.
Definitely. Fines are possible, but the real cost is the safety risk. You don't want anyone getting hurt on your property.
Yeah, absolutely not.
And what's important to grasp is that these standards, they're not static. They evolve. Many cities, many municipalities have updated their codes recently.
Why is that?
Partly because, unfortunately, there's been an increase in outdoor structure failures. So regulators are tightening things up. This makes it absolutely vital for property owners like you to stay informed.
Okay, so that raises a big question, right? How do you stay informed and compliant? I mean, most people aren't reading building code updates for fun.
No, probably not. And that's really where strategic partnerships come in, meaning working with a contractor who really knows their stuff, someone who stays current on safety requirements, on the latest code changes in your area. That's probably the best way to protect your investment and, well, sleep better at night. They do the homework for you, essentially.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's about finding the right expertise.
Precisely.
Okay, building on that foundation of standards and compliance, let's talk materials. Especially for safety in tricky climates. Material choice seems huge.
It is paramount.
Yeah. So in a place like Vancouver, lots of rain, coastal air aluminum railings often get recommended. Why is that?
Well, aluminum has several key advantages in that kind of environment. It's inherently strong, it's really durable, and it's incredibly low maintenance. Crucially, it's rust resistant. That's huge near the ocean. And unlike wood, it won't warp, it won't rot, it won't crack over time with moisture changes.
So less upkeep, longer life.
Exactly. Plus, it's lightweight but surprisingly strong. So easier installation maybe, but still very robust.
And aesthetically, I know people care about how their deck looks.
Oh, absolutely. And aluminum railings, they often come with these customizable powder-coated finishes, very sleek. They add durability and they can really complement the house design. It can actually boost property value. It's a smart blend of function and form.
Nice. Okay, what about the decking surface itself? Any other top choices for safety and style?
Yeah, another really popular and safe option is composite decking.
Right, I've heard a lot about that.
It's engineered to look like wood, but it offers, frankly, superior durability in many ways, a key safety feature. Slip-resistant surfaces. That's a big plus, especially if you have kids or pets running around.
Good point. No splinters either, I imagine.
Correct. No splintering, no warping like wood can do. And again, a long lifespan with pretty minimal upkeep. Just basic cleaning usually.
And I think some are made from recycled materials too, right? So an eco-friendly angle.
That's often the case, yeah. Plus UV resistance, so the color holds up. And it pairs really nicely with aluminum railings. You can get a very cohesive, modern, low-maintenance look.
Okay, so good material options exist. Now, navigating the actual rules, you mentioned building codes. Let's talk about British Columbia specifically. How critical is understanding the BC building code?
Oh, it's non-negotiable. Absolutely vital for any deck project here, new build or renovation.
What are some key specifics in BC we should be aware of?
Well, things like load-bearing limits, they can vary depending on how you plan to use the deck. A deck just for chairs is different from one holding a heavy hot tub, for instance.
Makes sense.
And here's a key difference for BC. Railing height minimums are typically 42 inches, not the general 36 inches we mentioned earlier that might apply elsewhere.
Okay. Higher standard here. Why the difference?
It often comes down to local risk assessments, maybe specific safety data or engineering decisions made at the provincial level. It's a local adaptation for enhanced safety. Also, specific rules about how that ledger board must be attached, flashed, and sealed against moisture.
And if you don't follow these BC codes, what happens?
Uh-oh. Failed inspections are common. That means delays, extra costs to redo the work. It can be a nightmare.
Right.
And potentially, it could even affect your home insurance if something goes wrong down the line and the deck wasn't built to code.
Yikes. Okay, so this really hammers home the need for qualified professionals, doesn't it? People who actually keep up with these specific local code revisions.
Exactly. Especially around moisture protection. Given the rain here in Vancouver, how you manage water is just critical. It impacts everything structural.
Let's dive into that waterproofing. You mentioned how crucial it is in rainy places. Water damage can be sneaky, right?
Incredibly sneaky. Often, it's happening unseen for months, maybe years, silently compromising the wood, the fasteners, the whole structure.
I bet. I've heard stories, deck looks fine, and suddenly you find soft, spongy boards, or maybe a weird smell near the house connection.
Those are classic signs. Soft boards, mold, or mildew popping up, especially around screws or bolts, or even just discoloration, bubbling paint, or coatings. Those are all red flags that water's getting in.
So what are the essentials for proper waterproofing then?
Well, using robust vinyl membranes is a big one. Think of it like a tough, waterproof skin over the entire deck surface.
Okay.
Proper sealing of all the seams, joints, and edges with quality caulking. And regular, ideally annual inspections, specifically looking for leaks or potential water entry points. Catching them early is key.
And that vinyl layer you mentioned, is that a worthwhile investment?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's actually one of those cost-effective ways to get a truly sealed waterproof surface, especially for our climate. It's almost essential for high-traffic decks or maybe decks over living spaces or in multi-unit buildings. It dramatically extends the deck's life and ensures safety.
Got it. Okay, so we've built it right, used good materials, waterproofed it, but it doesn't end there, does it? What about ongoing safety?
Not at all. Ongoing maintenance and inspection are crucial. Which brings us to the must-have, really, annual deck inspections.
Why? Well,
because routine checks are your best defense against small problems becoming big ones. You identify issues early before they turn into expensive repairs or, serious safety hazards.
So during these annual checks, what are you looking for specifically?
You're zeroing in on things like rusted fasteners, connectors, any signs of wood rot. Pay close attention to joints, posts, anywhere water might sit.
Right.
And, of course, testing those railings again. Are they loose? Shaky?
So for the listener doing a quick check themselves, what's practical?
Walk the whole deck. Feel for soft spots or excessive springiness. Give all the railings a good firm push. Check their stability. Look closely at visible screws, bolts, hangers, any signs of rust or corrosion.
And doing this annually, you're saying, is actually cheaper in the long run.
Significantly cheaper than waiting until something fails or looks obviously damaged. Plus, it's peace of mind, right? Especially if you're, say, a property manager responsible for multiple decks.
Definitely. Peace of mind is huge.
And expanding on that, these checks should ideally be seasonal, especially after a tough winter or one of our really wet springs.
Okay. Key areas to hit seasonally.
Recheck that ledger board connection to the house for any sign of water staining or damage. It's critical. Double-check railing strength and height, and give all those fasteners another look for corrosion.
And you mentioned a warning sign earlier.
Yes. If your deck noticeably creaks, sways, or feels unstable when you walk on it, don't wait. Don't try to fix it yourself necessarily.
Yeah.
Call a qualified professional immediately. That's not something to ignore.
That's really important advice because some risks, as you said, they aren't obvious until it's maybe too late.
Exactly. So addressing common hazards is all about being proactive.
What are some of those common hazards to keep an eye out for?
Things like loose or heavily rusted fasteners, obviously. Any visible sagging or tilting of the structure that's a major red flag. Pooled water that isn't draining properly indicates a problem.
So prevention is the name of the game.
Absolutely. Schedule those inspections. Consider upgrading older materials if your deck is getting on in years, especially if it was built before recent code updates. And make sure you have proper drainage systems in place, gutters, downspouts, grading away from the foundation.
And what does this all mean if you don't address these hazards?
Well, you could be looking at legal liability if someone gets hurt. Insurance complications, definitely. Could even make it harder to sell your property later. So, yeah, regular cleaning, inspections, minor upgrades, it's all vital.
Okay, and circling back to Vancouver specifically, are there other local quirks or requirements we should know about?
Yes, Vancouver often has requirements tailored to its specific urban environment and climate. Things like anti-climb spacing for railing pickets or balusters. That's usually a maximum gap, like 4 inches, to prevent small children from squeezing through or climbing.
Ah, okay. Safety measure.
Exactly. In certain zones, especially denser areas or those near forests, there might be requirements for using non-combustible materials, things like steel framing or concrete, instead of wood to reduce fire risk.
Right, fire safety.
And given our storms and occasional snow, there are very specific calculations for wind load and snow load that the deck structure must be designed to handle.
So for listeners in Vancouver wanting to stay compliant, what are your top tips?
Number 1, work with a local expert, someone who knows the Vancouver building code and its specific amendments inside out.
Okay.
2, always get permits for renovations. Even if it seems like a small job, check if a permit is needed. It protects you.
Good advice.
And 3, keep records. Document your inspections, any maintenance or repairs you've done. It's proof of due diligence. Ignoring local compliance, that can halt a property sale, lead to fines, or worst case, endanger people.
Okay, that's crystal clear. So let's try and bring all these threads together. What are the absolute key elements for a safe deck installation?
All right, let's recap. It starts with the design. Proper railing height, meeting those load requirements.
Yeah.
Then the build. Using strong, appropriate fasteners, thorough waterproofing, choosing compliant and durable materials. And finally, the life cycle. That ongoing commitment to regular inspections and maintenance.
And underlying all of that is what?
Expert planning and skilled installation right from the get-go. You can't easily retrofit fundamental safety into a poorly planned deck. It's about balancing the safety requirements with the look you want right from the start.
And since every yard is different, sometimes standard solutions don't quite fit, right? What about custom stairs and railings?
That's a great point. Custom solutions are often needed to perfectly match the space, the house style, and meet all the code requirements.
What kind of custom designs are we talking about?
Oh, all sorts. Traditional wood or aluminum picket railings, maybe sleek frameless glass railings for a modern look, or even heavy-duty welded steel stairs for, say, apartment buildings or high-use areas.
And if you go custom, what's the process usually look like?
Typically, it involves a detailed site evaluation first, then a consultation on style and materials, followed by careful structural design to ensure it meets code, and of course, navigating the permitting process if needed.
And for stairs specifically, anything crucial to remember?
Absolutely. Riser height, that's the vertical step height and tread with the depth of the step you stand on, must precisely follow building codes. It's not just about looks or comfort. It's engineered for safe walking to prevent trips and falls. Minor variations can make a big difference.
Okay. This all leads to a final, really crucial point. Choosing the right contractor.
Paramount. Absolutely paramount. Not all contractors have the same level of expertise or focus on safety.
So what should you look for? How do you vet them?
First, basics. Proof of proper insurance and licenses. That's non-negotiable. Then, look for demonstrated experience, specifically with the materials you're considering, like aluminum or composite. Check their reviews. Look at their portfolio of past deck projects.
And when you're talking to them?
Don't be shy. Ask for references you can actually talk to. Review their past work critically. and really probe their understanding of current deck safety standards. Ask them specific questions.
Like what kind of specific questions?
Here's a pro tip. Ask about their specific approach to waterproofing, especially given our climate. Ask what fastening methods they prefer and why. Ask about their recommended inspection schedule post-installation.
And their answers tell you what?
Their answers reveal if they genuinely prioritize safety and durability or if they're just trying to make a sale. It shows their depths of knowledge and their philosophy.
That's really valuable insight. It's about finding someone who sees it as more than just a construction job.
Exactly. Because as we've explored today, a deck isn't just, some static add-on to your house. It's a dynamic structure. It's constantly interacting with the weather, the environment, bearing weight, undergoing stress.
So maybe a final thought for our listeners to take away, something to mull over.
Yeah, perhaps think about this. What potentially overlooked elements in your own outdoor space, maybe things you haven't thought about until now, might be silently compromising its integrity?
And more importantly, what proactive steps, maybe starting today, could you take to transform those potential hazards into lasting peace of mind? Ensuring that space is truly safe for you, your family, and your friends to enjoy for years to come.